Drew and Ralph, it is such a joy to have you with us today. And not only because you are like the most beautiful couple on Bravo, but because Danny and I have a million questions for you now that we're like halfway through this season of Atlanta. It's been a wild ride. What do you guys think of this season? Are you watching it together?
Yes, so that's one thing.
Yeah.
We always watch it together. It may be, before it airs or after, you know what I mean? But we are always, that's a pact we made, watch it together so that we can talk about it. We're trying to grow, you know what I'm saying? So things that we don't like, things that we need to address, we need to watch it and be on the same page.
Exactly.
That's how we move.
Well,
and when you watch it, do you have rules for yourself? Are you like, okay, we cannot talk until 58 minutes in? Or do you ever pause it to go like, okay, now what did you mean by that?
We pause, we rewind. We do all of that, like not even plan though. Like we'll watch it. And of course, that was the thing, right? Sometimes the ladies, they don't address you in your face. So then you see the confessional and I'm like, wait, hold up, rewind. I need to catch all this because then there's reunion, right? Where then I need to address this. And so for that reason, yes, I have to pause. I got to take notes. I got to remember. We talk about it. And then what seems with us, obviously it's like we're in marriage counseling. So we've grown from that. But I think there's some crumbs left on the table sometimes that then we do go back and just have to clean up, and that's the work. That's the work that we are definitely putting in this marriage.
Ralph, do you help Drew take notes? You're kind of like her coach leading up to reunion. Like, don't forget that she said this, and don't forget that he said this, and make sure to ask her about this.
No. I try to stay out of that stuff. I try to, because I think I was so intertwined into the season. Also, I'm looking at
your own stuff.
The reality is that every scene, every episode, somebody was mentioning something about me also, So, and I got to go and prepare for those kind of things. But I think I'm using it as a way to also self-reflect. I'm talking about the book a lot, the step in parenting. So that was a huge monumental, thing that's happening on the show also, just because I want to just ensure that, it's the message that I'm trying to portray is coming across the right way. And then, exactly how I need to go and just move forward from there.
And speaking of moving forward and your book too, I was kind of shocked when you guys were talking about it and Marlo had some thoughts at the table on the trip, and you guys seemed to move on from it kind of quickly, which I was like, wow, good for you guys, because I was like shocked what she was saying. How are you feeling about what she had to say now?
Ooh, man. I mean, sitting there, I was confused. I was like, were we just talking about Ralph's book? And now, so I was confused. I think we were trying to just understand what was happening while enjoying that good Jamaican meal, because usually I don't get to eat. Like, that's one thing. I get there and I'm like, and I didn't get to eat because now I got to address all this, right? So we were trying to definitely enjoy our food, but at the same time, understand what was happening. And I think after that dinner, because it definitely became an attack, which, Marlo attacking Candy, hands down, we can all agree on that. But we had a conversation in Marlo's room afterwards, and what we realized is like Marlo attacking was actually Marlo projecting. Marlo was very triggered, and there's a lot of trauma. You know what I'm saying? People think, oh, Marlo's being Marlo. Marlo has a lot of childhood trauma that came out in that conversation. And I mean, it was very emotional. She was very vulnerable. And that's why the next day on the bus, when she apologized, I was like, girl, just get into that counseling, which Marlo has been. She said she's still in counseling today. So I was just like, I'm here for anyone that can own their mistakes, fall on the sword. But I think with some of the things she said with Candy and Todd, that's going to take time. Like, time has to heal that, because you just can't say that and then take it away.
Right.
First and foremost, I want to give a major shout out to Candy, because Candy stepped up for me tremendously, because she could have just let Marlo try to attack me, and I'm limited on what I can say anyway. But regardless, at the end of the day, she was being, she was triggered and she was projecting on me. And I can understand. She was, what was she? She was in foster care. I mean,
she's talking about that more, you know, and I think that's beautiful because when you hear it from Marlo, like her childhood was rough and my heart went out to her. Doesn't give you a right to attack people and disrespect people. You know, it's I'm not making that excuse, but I feel like Marlo has to grow. You know what I mean? And that was what we walked away from. So we couldn't feel, I didn't feel like,
well, my
bad about
situation,
it,
but the thing is, our situation is so much different. Like JoJo, I love JoJo, and he has a loving environment where he's filled with people that cherish him, embrace him. So our situation is completely different than Marlo, where she didn't have anyone that accepted her. And so it's a challenging position to come in from someone that says, all right, who's going to love me versus JoJo that's filled with love and actually has not just one father, but somebody else, another father, biological father that can also say, you know what, I want to embrace you also. And I don't want to ever take that away from a father being a father. It's the greatest gift in the world.
Right. And I applaud you guys for opening up this part of your lives to viewers, because it's very vulnerable to talk about the challenges of what comes along with being a bonus parent, and then also, you know, JoJo's biological father and that whole journey. But I think that some viewers are still confused why you don't want to legally adopt JoJo. If you could just offer some clarification for those who are not getting it.
Yeah, absolutely. So my role as a father, I can, as mentioned before, and thinking about my childhood, my father wasn't in my life all the time. And my mother never remarried or said, hey, you know what, this person can come in and adopt you. I feel like sometimes we got to give space for a man to be a man and a father to be a father to come back in. And I'm somebody here that's going to always build bridges, right? I don't destroy bridges. I want to build bridges to give somebody an opportunity to be able to come in and be the father that they want. I got 3 reasons why you should adopt, right? Either the father is deceased, the father doesn't want anything to do with that child, or that child is in a very traumatic situation where they're being abused, right? That's not my story. And so therefore, I don't need to go and adopt him legally in order to show that he's my son. He's already my son. He calls me dad. He has my last name. Really, that piece of paper doesn't do anything, nor is it going to ever change the dynamic that we currently have.
And how are you feeling about the situation today, Drew? Are you at peace with that?
I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, I'm not a man, you know, and him and Josiah's biological father had a conversation. And so because I wasn't there, he feels the way he feels based on that conversation. I feel like Ralph is definitely the person that even talked me into giving Josiah's biological father that opportunity to come on and meet Josiah, take him out, you know. And I feel like for me as the mom, I was a single mother, so obviously my feelings are going to be way different. In a perfect world, I would love for Ralph just to come in, make that commitment, but I want it to be Ralph's decision. I never would want to force him to do it, and he does it, and then I'm like, yay, and then he's over here having resentment. I don't want that to be the case. So I have tabled that conversation until the time, like, of course, in the future, I would love for that to happen, but I do understand to an extent what Ralph is saying. And I've just chosen to accept that and see where we end up.
You know, one thing, you know, the thing I would hate the most is for JoJo to get older and have that coming to Jesus talk with his father and say, why weren't you in my life? And then the father says, well, because they actually stripped me away from you. And that's hard. And that's not something I ever want to be in that position to go and take it away, because now JoJo will have resentment towards us because I stepped in and made a decision on his behalf that actually destroyed the fabric of their relationship. And I'm getting to know, I always say this, I can teach JoJo a lot, but where he is, who he is, biologically, you know, I can't teach him that. I can't teach him where his roots are and why he talks the way he does and why he thinks the way that he does. That's only something that a biological father can actually teach him and show him who he really is and what his roots are. So it's hard for me to put myself, because that's the thing, I put myself in his shoes, and that's the decision I ended up making after speaking with his father and also speaking with JoJo.
And when you, oh, Drew, were you going to say something or?
Well, I just feel like, I mean, that's fine for now, but like we've had the conversation with his biological father. And so it's one thing to say, I want to be a father. It's another thing to actually be it and live it and walk in it. Because I mean, Ralph, I see him, like he's there when JoJo's sick. He is there, the one that's teaching him how to be a man. So I feel like we can only give JoJo's biological dad this grace until we don't, because where is he? What? you know, and for me, I just feel like it's fine for now, but at a certain point, if he's not stepping up, if he's not going to be present, then I would definitely love, you know, for you to just fill that role. And we can't wait for him and just play defense and waiting for him to be ready. Like Josiah needs a father now, and right now he doesn't have that too.
Don't you think I'm his father?
You are, but I'm just saying, like, to be wholeheartedly 100% in, his father isn't here. Where you're saying, oh, he has two men that love him. He's not here.
Do you think that JoJo thinks that he doesn't have a father?
No, he definitely.
And who do you think his father is?
You.
All right. So why do we need to do anything else?
I just feel like, you know.
So, and that's my big thing. Is this to satisfy you, or is it to satisfy Josiah?
Well, I feel like it's like if something were to happen to me legally, who that's where I come from. God forbid something happens to me legally, what happens? Like I would want you to be able to have that custody of him.
And that's something that you don't have to adopt to have that in place. You don't need
I need to do more
and so,
research because I thought you did.
You got a lot more work to do.
That's a Taurus thing. I thought you did.
I thought you did.
No, you don't.
Really?
You don't.
Okay.
No, okay, but before we get off of this
later.
subject, I am just curious, does JoJo have any thoughts and opinions about the matter?
Yes, yes. I spoke to JoJo myself.
Yes.
And that was a really, I took JoJo to the side and I asked him the question. I was like, do you want me to adopt you? And he said, what would change? I said, nothing would change, because really nothing would change. There's no difference on how he acts today, my role in his life, the role that I play, nothing would change. And he said, so why are we doing it then? So, and there's no reason for us to do it. There's nothing that'll change. He already has my last name. So for JoJo, there's no benefit that would actually come about us adopting him, because he's already mine. And
do you feel it could be a conversation, maybe even in a few years you revisit, kind of to your point, Drew, when you were like, well, where's the biological father? Would this be a conversation, do you think, an ongoing, and then also you kind of like temperature check with JoJo to see what he's feeling and everything?
Yeah, I think after a while, I think it turns over. Right now, it's in a position. JoJo's 11 and he's extremely bright and intelligent. He's at the point that he knows exactly what he likes and what he doesn't like. So I think that it's going to be JoJo's decision. And so JoJo came and said, Dad, I want you to adopt me because I understand what adoption means. And this is exactly why I want to do it. Then we can go and have that conversation. But that should be JoJo's decision 100%. And it should be something that's well thought out, that he's not influenced by anybody else, but something that he genuinely wants, considering all the different dynamics, also considering his biological father.
And when you talk
no, go ahead, Danny. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, and when you were talking to his biological father about adoption, I also was curious, did your book come up at all? Like, did you have to run anything past him about in regards to that? Or were you sort of just like, that is a different factor that does not involve you?
That completely doesn't involve him at all. So it wasn't something we spoke about. So the step-in parenting, this is step parents, I'm a step parent. So it's step parents speaking to step parents to help them with the journey that they have to deal with, because that's something that I had to personally deal with. I'm dating a woman or married to a woman that actually has a child that's not biologically mine. That's challenging. When you have a biological kid together, typically it's 50-50, right? Hey, I have a decision in this and I have a voice. When you are a step parent, you don't have a voice. You gotta kind of try to earn the right to have a voice. And that voice, a lot of the times, would never be equal to your mate. And so there's a lot of differences and nuances that you have to journey through in order to really be able to navigate the step in parenting. And a lot of people either feel emasculated when trying to place order or trying to step into that role and say, I'm the dad or I'm the mom. And then all of a sudden somebody corrects them and says, well, you're really not the mom or the dad. That's hard. And you have to prepare yourself, because there's not an instruction manual out that can teach you how to be a step parent.
Yeah.
Well, it's beautiful that you're opening up about this experience. And I love that you read an excerpt from your book at the Casa dinner in Jamaica, especially after you've kind of been, like you were mentioning earlier, you've been hit with a lot this season, Ralph, between the assistant and the gay rumors and the gaslighting montage.
Oh, man.
Oh my God, that was so, the editors, like, man, the editors were top tier.
I looked at it, I was like, man.
They did a whole movie.
They did a movie on me. was like, wow.
And then a part two with like, I think Kenya's ex. It was like,
Yeah.
wow.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah, they are pretty ruthless. So I'm just curious to know, Ralph, like, what do you make of all of it? I guess, like all the shade from the editors, the shade from Drew's castmates. Like, what has been the most bothersome thing this season for you? Because it's incredible that you still hang out with these girls after all this drama has been brewing.
You know, I think I had to take a step back and really even analyze myself. You know, first my instinct was, I can't believe this. I can't believe I said this point and I did this, and you know, my Aquarius and East Coast side came out. And then I had to take a step back, and through counseling, we've been working with Dr. Ken extensively, just helping just navigate different, you know, our relationship challenges, and also who I am as a man. I was able to explore some of the trauma that I've been through that stems from childhood, understand a lot more about who I am and how I show up in the world. And I was able to see, like, you know what, I don't like this about myself. I don't like that I do certain things. I don't like that I don't show that how I love my wife. And so, you know, and even the patience that I lack, you know, so I think I've used this as an opportunity for me to learn how to be a better man, and, you know, things I need to go and do to be also even a better husband.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what do you think of the label gaslighter? I mean, that actually, even though the little movie they made was funny, it's actually kind of like a serious label.
intense thing, yeah.
It is.
Because I was like, what is gaslighter? Like, and then when I read it, I was like, this kind of sounds like what I've been going through. So, I mean, that was one of the obviously topics in marriage counseling, because I feel like some of those tendencies can be gaslighting. And that's been the work for me to understand, like, why do you talk like this? Or why aren't you listening? Or why are you not hearing me? And putting out the titles and the labels or whatever, you know, we've been able to get to like some deeper levels on why it appears that way. And I'm just thankful that even watching the show, like, he has taken a step back to be like, okay, regardless of anything else, I can talk to this person, tell this person off or whatever, but let me just first work on me and make sure this is good. And quiet the noise, because I mean, yeah, we put our marriage out there. We've been extremely vulnerable. So people have weaponized it, right, against us. That doesn't feel good. But at the end of the day, if we can show up better and go through this and come on the other side, like, that's what we made a decision to do, and just kind of stick together and doing the work, you know, so we can be better.
Yeah, I think about it. When you talk about gaslighting, for me, and it is a very strong word, but I think that there's not really an opportunity where people can actually have a mirror in front of them so that they can see themselves. And I think that's the benefit for me, you know, is on this show, I get to actually see how I'm showing up on the world and what actually looks like gaslighting. I had to look it up also. I'm like, gaslighter? What is that?
I am not.
I'm not gaslighter, but even
what did you think when you read the definition?
When you read the definition,
look, I'm asking the question. When you read the definition of gaslighter, did you think like, oh man, maybe I am a gaslighter? Because I never asked you that.
No, I didn't think it. I thought of it. I can see how somebody can say that, right?
Oh,
I can see how somebody can say that, because I have a way with words sometimes, and you know, and how I put things together. But that's not my goal. So I think I'm doing it subconsciously, you know, I'm just being me and just talking. But that's the thing I think when you have growth, you can go and look at yourself and be like, cool, I may be doing that. And even though it may impact Drew the way it does, I can say, all right, you know what, Ralph, if I know that I'm doing it, then I can say, all right, I can't do this, you know, or I don't want to project myself, because really I want Drew to have her own thoughts. I don't want her to be influenced by me at all. I want us to have a relationship. My whole thing is, which I've always said to Drew, I want her to be with me, not because she needs to be with me, but because she wants to be with me, which means being free of choice to decide what she wants to do at any given point in time. I never want to make her feel like she's trapped or bottlenecked or anything else. I don't want that. I want Drew to go and make the decisions, and whatever decision she makes is because she wants to do it under 100% her free will, not because she has any influence from Ralph.
Okay, all right. We'd love to hear that.
But have I
not said that? No, I mean, it was put very eloquently right now. You know what I mean? So, and anytime you say it, I appreciate it, because I think that's what that's what I need to hear more of. You know, because when you say it and then it's also convoluted with other things that are going on, it's good to always hear it. I'll never get used to hearing that, honey. Like, you can say this every day to me. Every
We'll
day.
have them tape replay for you every day.
Right.
go,
Send me
there
the
you
tape.
go.
We can play this every day. But no, that's beautiful. Like, I really appreciate that, honestly.
I'm serious, and I mean it.
really
I mean it from the
do.
bottom of my heart. And
I'm
we are
curious to know what do each of you think of the comparisons that have been made about Ralph to Kenya's ex Mark? Because at one point, Drew, you said, you know, Kenya was really speaking for me in that moment, and then they, you know, they did the montage of Mark versus Ralph. I mean, how do you each process that now? It's not the greatest comparison.
Right. I mean, honestly, I felt like I was really surprised that Kenya felt like my heart, because we had never obviously discussed how I was dealing with my marital issues, but she literally was saying the things that I was feeling. And I was actually very happy that she also apologized and admitted that it was a little bit of her projecting too. So, I mean, it is what it is. Like, I think in their relationship, there are similarities. They're both from the East Coast. You know, they're both businessmen. We don't know Mark personally, but I think even you said, like, I get, you know, some of his humor and things like that. But Ralph has made a decision when he left to go to Tampa, he came back, you know, and that's the difference in us, is that Ralph wakes up every day and is committed still to doing the work. So I appreciate that about my husband. And that's, I think, the vast difference between the two relationships.
It is funny because you two are so open about your life with like your friends on the show and on the show. It seems everyone uses you guys almost as like their own therapy, because it's like, I see this and that. Do you ever kind of be like, can you guys work out your own problems without yelling at us?
That is so true, because it was like the book, that's our issue, right? That we're sharing, but it started triggering so many different conversations in others. And same with our marital issues. So I think it's healthy, like when you're in friend groups where you guys are able to learn from each other, even though it doesn't look or appear that way. That's kind of how we had to reason with why we were the target for so many things. Because we were kind of a mirror at times of what people either are getting or not getting or liking or not liking. So we were just like, all right, you know, that's why we made a decision. As long as we get it right, everybody else gonna have to figure it out. But all we can really control is this right here.
It seems from the teaser for this upcoming episode, Sonia and her husband might need to take a step back and work things out, because he flips out of the table. And I have not seen like an outburst like that from a house husband in a minute. What was it kind of like watching that unfold and the ripple effect of that, if there was one?
I was like, Ross, no, like, and he's so quiet. You know, Ross, don't get me, he is super cool, like, love for Ross. But in that moment, I was just like, see, it'd be them quiet ones. It'd be them quiet ones. And for me, I just felt like, okay, Sonia literally has been attacking me the whole entire time. She attacks whoever, you know. But have you noticed she always has a family member that has to step in for her, to communicate, take up for her. It was her mama, it was her sister, and now it's her husband. So I took it more from like, can Sonia speak? Like, does she have a mind of her own? Can she communicate? Because I feel like even with Sheree or Kenya, we've been able to communicate, use our vocabulary to get through the mud, to get to the other side. And with Sonia, that's not the case. It's always got to be a family member to step in and fight her battles. And I personally don't respect that. So that's just
a really good point. I didn't realize that.
From a male perspective, though, I can say that he did stand up for his wife, though, you know. And
that's
so
true. We like that.
He stood up and took his wife's back.
But to the other women, I mean, you can stand up if another man is disrespectful. I feel like that's the time.
That too.
Protect. And yeah, like he loves his wife. Let's be honest. But you still have to let the women work out our own problems, because we have to be friends with each other. I need to know who she is, how she thinks, her reason for doing the things that she's been doing. I think that's what the ladies were asking for, some understanding. And once again, you just aren't able to get that from her. Either she can't eloquently describe why she's mad at Drew, or say what her issue is, you know what I mean? And that's just not going to be good for her in the end to really build solid friendships, long-lasting friendships.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sonia has obviously been attacking you a little bit throughout the season, and like you mentioned before, your book, Ralph, kind of instigated this attack of Marlo on Candy, and that is just getting absolutely wild. Do you think that they're done? Like, do you think it's like irreparable?
Is that a question for me?
for both of them.
I mean, I feel like Candy, you know, she's a fellow Taurus, and it's like when you cross certain lines, it's like there's no coming back from it. I think that in the moment, you know, Marlo gave Candy some chicken, some Kentucky Fried Chicken. I think for the moment, it was like, okay, all is well. Thank you for this chicken. But in the long term, it's not real resolve there because, like I said, you can't say certain things and then just try to apologize and it goes away. That's going to take a lot of time and a lot of consistency from Marlo to really show Candy, like, I am really apologetic because you see in my actions that I won't ever do that again to you, friend. And Marlo's just not there yet. So I don't feel like Candy is in a place to even try to forgive Marlo, because Marlo on social media was still, you know, kind of backtracking. Like she wasn't just being apologetic and like overly like, man, I'm so sorry. And so for that reason, I feel like Candy has to stand her ground. So Marlo knows, like, you can't just come across that boundary. That line is set for a reason. And I'm the same way. Once you cross certain boundaries, like, we're no longer friends. So
it seems that Marlo's entire season, her first one with the peach, has been throwing that peach across boundaries and crossing a lot of lines. Because I'm still not over the explosive fight with her and Kenya too on the trip that I really did think you all were gonna have a nice time on that trip. I was the fool. And Candy said that like so much of it was edited out. Was Marlo really as, did she get like an edit that was a little more better or a little less showing, you think?
It was definitely better. Kenya and I had a conversation even about that, because even in regards to the witch lady, that is Sheree's puppy, I think Chihuahua, it specifically, yeah, like you didn't see that she was like taunting me. And so I kept telling Marlo, because Marlo was like, if you're my friend, you're gonna ride with me. Come on, Drew, if you're here for me, ride with me. And I kept saying, I'm not riding in the car. I wanna ride where I feel comfortable. And after Marlo kept going on and on and on, I was like, I'm not riding with that bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, period. Like, so it looked, when we watched it back, as though it came from nowhere, but it was Marlo pushing me to ride with her. Like, we are all grown women. You can't force me to be in close proximity with someone who's been attacking me, running background checks. Like, I don't trust this lady. She's here. Marlo, why is she here? As a friend, I don't think that was cool to have her in my personal space, but that was what you didn't get to see. And so that wasn't the real of what it really was. And even how she was going in on Kenya, like way harder. So I know they can't show everything, but at the end of the day, it was bad. It was worse than what you saw.
And the what people are saying is that a lot of it was targeted towards Kenya's daughter too, which seems to be really just not even below. That's just like the kind of one cardinal rules, like, let's just not talk about kids. And it's so sad because it's like the one thing I feel people in the past can say a lot about Kenya, but you can never say she's not a mom above all, like loves her kids so much. And it just seems insane that Marlo would go after that.
Yeah, Marlo was being extremely insensitive. And it just felt like during that whole trip, it was like the target kept moving for Kenya. Like, if Kenya doesn't show up, then it's going to be a problem. So Kenya shows up. All right, now you got to stay in the house. And if you don't stay in the house, then I'm going to call the police, you know? And it was like, okay, Kenya showed up in the morning. Okay, well, now you need to go have a conversation with me one-on-one. Like, come on, Marlo. Like, it's just too controlling. Like, why are you doing this? We want to just get to some activities, which, by the way, we didn't get to do most of them. And then she like sent us all home. And it was like, okay, this was a complete waste of my life that I can't get back. So yeah, I was not feeling Marlo on that trip. Marlo doesn't need to host any more girls trips for us, like ever.
How are you and Marlo today?
I mean, Marlo and I are cool. Like, I feel like I do see Marlo for who she is. And I think when we were in Jamaica, having that really extremely vulnerable conversation put things in perspective for me with Marlo. I don't agree with how she attacks people, but I just feel like Marlo's just not there yet. Like, Marlo's gone through things that I don't understand because I didn't grow up that way. So I try to have a little grace on her for that. But I do feel like Marlo has a lot of work to do and a lot of repairing to do before people can openly trust her and embrace her fully.
Do you think that Marlo has always been messy, but do you think that she's turning up the volume because she now has a peach in her hand?
You said it. I'm like, sometimes I'm like, Marlo, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like sometimes it was a little extra for the peach and keeping the peach. And it was just very driven by the peach. And I'm like, at some point you got to just be Marlo Hampton and let us see who that is for us to build like real relationships. And I think she learned her lesson. I really do. I feel like Marlo has said, like, I probably, like, are you mad at me? Like, how do you think I'm showing up? Like, what do I need to do? And she's reflecting, you know, and I'm like, we just need to see a better version of you, you know, next year, please. Can the real Marlo show up?
That's also what I'm worried about, because for her, this is going to be her first full-on reunion where you can't just go like, okay, bye, Andy. She's sitting there.
You can't just say, I'm sorry. No, Marlo had to, well, she did a lot of apologizing, but at the same time, it's like, is the apology real? Like sometimes I was like, and I don't know if I can say where I was sitting, but I was just looking at her and I was like, was that even real? Like, I think I said it at one point. I'm like, oh, was that real? Like, what's happening? So Marlo, like I said, she has a lot of work to do to just feel comfortable in her own skin, to be vulnerable and be authentic. And if you don't want to apologize, don't apologize, but we don't want to hear no more like open-ended like apologies, because they're starting to not land. They weren't landing.
How are you feeling after the reunion?
I feel great. She was very pretty. I was very unbothered. I had a great time. We went and partied. I got a good night rest. Like, I just felt like I didn't have to say so much. I feel like a lot of the people watching saw what it was. They were able to tell the real from the fake. I just had to address a few things. I think we addressed the most important things that we felt near and dear to our heart. And everybody else that was turned up, I was like, okay, you can be turned up by yourself.
You're like, I'm just dropping it in the corner over here. You guys have fun.
I know. I'm dropping it with Drew. She's lighter. She has more energy. So she don't got to do all of that. Like, you see the growth. I have owned my part. I am listening more. I am talking, well, trying to talk less. And I'm just on my own journey. And I say what I say and I move on. That was the energy and what I brought.
Speaking of dropping it, how is Drop It with Drew going? How's business? That you've handled a lot of shade this season.
Oh my God, so much. It is amazing. Like, although with so much shade, I just feel like when you do things from the heart, people recognize the real. And because it really initially was something to help me lose weight, because I was open about my body issues. I was open about my health. Like, it was no secret. So when I was approached with this program, it was like, wait, I can actually like do the program and lose weight. And that's amazing. And as I started to get on my own health journey, other people were inspired. People have lost hundreds of pounds. They are like living a whole different life, coming off medication. And that was what was driving Drop It with Drew. So yes, I have said the business was not where it should have even been, but guess what? It held our feet to the fire. And I was like, oh, we got to do better. So the website is up and running. dropitwithdrew.com. Sign up. If you want to know what it's about, experience it. We are launching live pop-ups, so it will be coming to a city near you. But I have so many amazing partners that have come aboard, athletes, fitness gurus that want to help me develop it and what it really needs to be, which is top tier. And for that, I'm thankful. Like, it was a passion project that's turning into an empire. And for that reason, like, I am living proof to what it can do, because I am losing weight. Even Andy, he was like, what? You are so
great. You look amazing.
You look amazing.
Yeah. I love it. I am living proof that it works. And so I don't have to say much more about it. You know, I'm encouraging people to just join and like have fun with us. It's a 21-day challenge, period.
And so, you drop it with Drew so well, but I am wondering, and I love when a housewife does this, would you ever drop a song, drop an EP?
Hey.
You've been Happy Birthday was so good.
Segue, they actually played a song that Ralph produced. What? I co-wrote and sang. It was in the episode last week when we were in Jamaica. I don't even know if people caught it. I'm really gonna post a clip so people know
to do that.
Yeah, yes, like that. And we're dropping it. Like we're dropping the song.
It's called Already Know.
You already know.
Ooh.
Okay. Also, I had no idea that Ralph was a producer.
Yes.
That's the part you don't get to see. So like now we get to come to page 6 and you get to see the different sides of
exclusive
us.
There, you know.
Exclusive. Like, he's an amazing, I think last season you may have gotten to see us like doing church with my mom and Ralph was playing and I was singing. So that was like a glimpse, but like that's honestly what attracted us to each other. On our first date, he played the piano for me and I was singing and it was such a vibe. It was like we literally fell in love like that night. So 8 years later, you know, we're in the studio. Those are the things that we do partner on. And those are the positive things. Like we are able to work together, you know,
Absolutely,
on some things.
absolutely.
That's
Not
really
drama.
sweet. Now we have just 2 minutes left on this Zoom, but before we go, Drew, I'm really curious to know. I have chatted with both Portia and Cynthia this year, and they were sad to be missing out on this current season of Atlanta. And I know you're friends with both of them. So if you could snatch 2 peaches away and have Cynthia and Portia rejoin the show, who would be losing their peach?
Oh, that's so easy. The runner track star, Sanya. She could just go back, you know what I'm saying, back on that track and run a new race because this is not the one for her. And then I would say Sheree. I mean, I think Sheree, it would be nothing new. Like Sheree comes for a season and then leaves. So they would just be, you know, kind of keeping in the tradition. And maybe we'll see her next time.
Okay, all right. That was easier than I thought it would be.
I love it.
I like that. I do miss Cynthia and Portia so much.
I do too. Yeah.
I miss them. Like, honestly, people don't even know. So, like, I met Cynthia through Eva. So I've known Eva since like LA, and we were on the game together. And when I came out to Atlanta, she invited me to Cynthia's opening for her wine cellar. And so that's when she introduced me to Cynthia. So it was just like, all my girls are gone. Like, I'm like, where's Eva? Where's Cynthia? So I would definitely love, actually for all of them to come back. It would be awesome. It would be awesome.
Yeah. All right. I think this Zoom is about to close, but this was absolutely wonderful, guys.
Yes.
Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you so
So
much.
great to see your beautiful faces.
I love you. I'll see you soon after. So you got to have us on. We'll send you the single, and then, you know, we got to talk
Yes.
about it.
Please do. Yes. Oh my God.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll do, babe.
All right. Bye,
Thank you.
guys.
Bye.
Good meeting you. Take care.
You too. Bye.